And okay, so let's transition over into the Battle of Florida because this is another one of those series. Obviously, the first round had a lot of this, but even now, there's so many players that have played for the previous team that they're up against.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about Kings and Oilers being being the Gretzky Bowl, but it was also like a little bit of a Luch Bowl, right?
Oh fuck, that's right. He was a king.
Because he was a king for a while. He was a Lucic Bowl for a bit.
Damn, I
Um,
didn't think about
um, but then, like in the Battle of Florida, you got guys like Carter Verhaeghe haven't played both sides.
that. Yeah. Damn, the
Um,
Oilers were so pissed about that Milan Lucic signing and it didn't work out that they beat his former team in the Kings, his former team in the Kings, and then his current team in the Flames.
we'll get to them in a second,
Yeah.
but
But
this Battle of Florida wasn't much of one. I'm kind of disappointed.
Tampa, in my opinion, was always going to win that series.
Well, yes,
But it changed with the goal by Ross Colton.
that really was the turning point, wasn't it?
Even if they lost that game in overtime, the Panthers,
Mhm.
I still feel like they could have won a game or two in this series. You like giving up an overtime goal sucks, obviously.
Mhm.
Giving up a goal with less than 5 seconds left in regulation and it's the game winner.
That's so
So
crushing.
demoralizing.
That's so crushing.
Because
It
you have it like whether like obviously you gotta get the bleed off the last few seconds and whatnot. But if it's a tie game and there's 15 seconds left,
mhm.
your brain naturally just goes to this might go to overtime.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean you're already mentally preparing or whatnot, but that's just in your mind. Like this thing could go to overtime. We gotta get this done in overtime.
would
You
love to see it go to overtime.
score a goal with less than 5 fucking seconds. You go, oh my god,
Okay, this is trouble.
it was major trouble. And to me, it showed a lot of flaws in Florida that we had
Yeah.
been talking about all year long.
Well,
That they're unbelievably talented and great at scoring goals. And they're great at playing from behind, and they got all those comeback wins to come
that's
back.
what I think really did him in too, was just the thought process of coming from behind so many times, sticking with that. You can't rely on that.
Exactly. It's good to know that there's no quit in your team,
Mm-hmm.
and that no matter the deficit, could be 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals, maybe even 4 goals. We're never going to quit.
Right.
We're going to find a way. We're going to score.
We saw
some
that
goals
with Columbus this year a lot.
Yeah, we saw a lot of that. And that's a good thing inherently in that you're never out of a game.
Right.
However, on the flip side, when you do it so damn often, the question is, why the fuck are you down so goddamn often if you're so
right.
And that's the problem. It's like you can do it in the playoffs. We've seen Columbus do it. They came back 3-0 down against the Penguins in game 4 of 2014. They were down 3-0 to Tampa. Did that in 2019. They're down
2020, same
3
thing against
nothing
Toronto.
to Toronto. We have seen this before from Columbus. Hell, they were down 3-1 in game 2 against the Penguins in 2014. They came back. That was an exciting win.
Down 3-0 against Tampa in the sweep, like you said. Like that was probably the biggest one.
It's the most major one. It's the most significant one, no doubt about it. But it's unbelievable. Like, but even though we've seen it,
It's
it's a hell of a
unsustainable.
lot. It's a hell of a lot harder to do in the playoffs than it is in the regular season, and you can't make it a habit. And that's the thing that it worked so well for the Blue Jackets is it wasn't a habit in any of those years. They weren't the comeback Blue Jackets in 2014 or
Right.
17, 18, 19, 20. They weren't. They just had a competitive belief that they could do it. They always battled and they took momentum, and that's how they ran with it. Florida to me showed. I know that they won a playoff series, Jake. They are not further ahead than the Leafs.
I
Not a
mean,
chance. I don't care that they won a first round series against Washington. They skated by, they skated the skin of their damn teeth against a Washington Capitals team they should have mopped the floor with.
oh yeah, the Capitals being able to get back into that series was really troubling to see.
You're down 2-1 in this series. You lose game 1 close. You get blown out in game 3. You have to score a goal. You have to come back and score a goal with a goalie pulled in game 4 just to tie the series.
Without a guy like Tom
3-0
Wilson
in
through
game
the
5.
majority of the series too. They didn't have Tom Wilson for what, 4 games?
Yes, and Tom Wilson's the injury was far more significant than we once thought. He's going to be
out 6 to 8 months.
So they didn't even have one of their top players. I know that he's not Ovi or Backstrom. Tom Wilson, in my opinion, is a top 3 most important Washington Capital to their team to this day.
He's one of the most impressive. Okay. Forget
him or hate him.
Forget his suspension history, his discipline history, whatever you want to talk about. Forget that for a second. This guy is one of the most impressive power forwards
we've ever seen.
That this league has.
Yes. Jake, this guy, 6'3", 6'4".
Big boy, yeah.
Big guy. Goes to the net, can deflect pucks, can really make life a living hell on opposing defensemen in net front battles. Is physical, is not afraid to hit anybody and knock the wind out of you.
It's always
a pain in the ass to play against. He's an underrated playmaker, has a really this guy's an let me tell you, I know a lot of people hate this guy.
I hate this guy, but
lying to yourself if you say you wouldn't take him on your team.
No, there's literally, it's the 3 guys that always get brought up in the discipline stuff, right? It's Tom Wilson, it's Brad Marchand, it's Nazem Kadri.
Yes, it's those 3.
It's those 3 guys, and you would
fool if you wouldn't take them on your team.
Any of them.
Are you kidding me? If I could create a team today, we talked about this, I'd make a line of those 3 guys. Give me Marchand, give me Naz at center, give me Tom Wilson on the
right. Yeah,
have fun with that. Are you kidding me? Oh, that is a living hell.
No, because and it's because not only will these guys wear you down and be rats and just wreck your day,
it's mental too. It's not just physical.
It's physical, it's mental, and they can all put up so many points. They're such skilled players.
How many? Dude, Brad Marchand's hit 100 points in his career multiple times.
Nas average is like 90.
He's been unbelievable. And Tom Wilson's like a perennial 30 goal scorer.
Yeah. At least 25. Right?
Nazem Kadri was 19th in the National Hockey League this year in points with 87 in 71 games. He didn't even play the entire year.
Dude, he was on pace to crush 100 points before he got hurt.
And if he continued at that exact pace, he hits exactly 100. He's been a 100-point player this year. That's a guy who's gonna get paid.
He's gonna get his.
He's gonna get his money. I tell you, man.
Okay,
that is a hell of a player. But getting back to the whole point of that. Tom Wilson, unreal player. Whether you like him or not, unreal player. They didn't have that guy.
No.
They don't have an established goaltender. They don't know if their goalie's Vitek Vanacek or Ilya Samsonov. They go back and forth. That team took you to 6 games. You had to come back from 3-0.
Florida has bombed
the series. You were down 3-0 in game 5. And they scored a goal.
We made this way more about the Capitals than about the Panthers. Let's be frank.
Because I believe that the Capitals series is more indicative of the Panthers as a team than the Lightning series is, because the Lightning are unbelievable. The Lightning could do that to anybody.
Andre Vasilevsky just doing his thing. I texted you this through
or stupid
through the second round, through this 4-game sweep. Andre Vasilevsky had a 981 save percentage. 981.
I could do that. Dog, I can't even do that in Chell.
David Ayers could do it.
Fucking ridiculous. This guy's unbelievable. And here's the thing. Because he's so good, I don't think that the Tampa series is necessarily a fair way to evaluate the Panthers, because goalies get hot sometimes. Carey Price has done it before. Henrik Lundqvist has done it
Bob's
before.
done it plenty.
Ben Bishop's done it before. Ben Bishop, underrated goalie. We've talked about him before.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it before. You know,
Khudobin got hot in the bubble.
Sometimes goalies get hot, you know, especially like the really fucking good. Jonathan Quick. Quick.
Yeah.
Roberto Luongo. Tim Thomas.
Corey Crawford.
We've seen this before. So sometimes it's not totally fair to judge a team for, you know, getting swept if they can't fucking score because the goalie's, you know, red hot.
Just that good.
Vasilevsky is the best goalie in the National Hockey League, and he's red hot. That is the worst combo you could run into.
Oh, yeah.
To me, I don't think that series is fair to judge the Panthers on. The series I'm judging them on is a series they won, but oh my God, they looked like shit.
You should have won that.
That
one should have been a sweep, and
they didn't score a power play goal in that series. That's and I'm not trying to say that Washington's a bad hockey team.
No, because they're not.
In terms of the regular season and just on paper and all that, they can't hold a candle to Florida. How does that happen? That series almost went 7.
Because the big thing now, specifically with Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much? Because the trade acquisitions, Claude Giroux was a ghost. Ben Sherratt was a ghost.
Yeah.
You
don't have a ton of money.
What do you do with those guys? And then do you run it back with Andrew Brunette?
Here's what I'll say about Andrew Brunette. I absolutely would run it back with Andrew Brunette, because understand the situation with Andrew Brunette. He's not a guy who's supposed to be a head coach this year.
Right.
I like him. I think he's a smart guy. He's a good player. Seems like a very decent person.
He used Q's systems well, at least the ones that he adopted.
They don't get swept if Joel Quenneville's their coach. The problem is there's not a world that can exist where Joel Quenneville's your coach after that.
Right.
So, to me, I don't think you give up on Andrew Brunette. The team's good. They seem to like him. They play well for him. But he said it himself. He learned a lot in that series. I think that every coach needs to go through that. Every coach needs to have that learning lesson of just getting eaten alive by another coach. And what a better coach to eat you alive than John Cooper. You know
what this is? And I've heard this talked about on the SDP. I've heard it talked about with CJ and Julian. I've heard it talked about elsewhere. This Battle of Florida for the Panthers is what Tampa went through in 2019 with Columbus.
100%. Now, will it result in the Panthers winning back-to-back Stanley Cups? And
probably not.
Probably not. But I think it's important to them. John Cooper's always been a good coach, but John Cooper got eaten the fuck alive by John Tortorella in 2019.
Yeah.
He hasn't looked back since.
They needed a wake-up call, and this is Florida's wake-up call.
They needed it badly because Tampa was an unbelievable team. And remember, it's not like they had been perennially underachieving prior to that.
No.
They had just made the conference final the year prior to that. They were a game away from going to the final. They probably would have beaten Vegas. They could have won a cup.
They could have.
Wins away.
Anyone can.
In the Stanley Cup final in 2015 against Chicago, and that's Chicago that when they were still really good. So like it's not like Tampa was a consistent choke or anything like that, but they got that label after getting fucking swept being a 62-win team. And they took that and they said, and here's the difference in my opinion. It's not just how they need to play differently,
Mm-hmm.
who they need to get. Because what did Tampa do after losing to Columbus?
They got Goodrow and Coleman.
They got Barkley Goodrow, they got Blake Coleman, but even before that, they improved their defense. They brought in Kevin
Shattenkirk, McDonough, yep.
Pat Maroon.
Pat Maroon was huge. Pat Maroon we never give him enough credit for this.
Because he's just a bottom six guy, and nobody wants to think like, oh, like you just obviously like it's not that he's not the difference between winning a cup and not. He's huge though. He's huge in the locker room. He's a guy who had just done it with St. Louis, and his impact was huge in the locker room. They changed kind of the way that they played, and they didn't look back, man.
How wild is it that if they keep going like this, that Pat Maroon could get 4 cups in a row?
That's unbelievable. Seriously, that's unbelievable. That's incredible. It cannot be understated how ridiculous that is.
4 cups in a row for one dude.
And well, also think about this, Jake. I mean, they went out. They got we mentioned Barkley Goodrow and Blake Coleman.
They got Corey Perry this year.
Because after
the guy that's been against
like, what can we do this offseason? we're going to bring in Corey Perry, and then
beat him, join him
at the deadline. We're going to get
Nick Paul.
We're going to get Nick Paul and Brandon Hagel.
Yep. So you got your Goodrow and Coleman replacements in those two, but then like the whole storyline with Corey Perry is really funny too, because like I've been saying, if you can't beat him, join him. He's having a blast.
Here's the other thing that I forgot to mention, because they just brought him back again this year, but they had him in 2020. At the deadline, they also went out and signed Zach Bogosian.
They did get Bogo.
And then Bogo came back this year too. And he's been a big impact too, because he's a big, body defenseman. And they didn't have him last year, obviously. So what did they do at the deadline? Because they needed a big body defensive-minded defenseman. They went out and they got David Savard.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, yeah, you're right.
So to me, sometimes you just got to look in your own backyard. Obviously it sucks being in the same state and division and having that rivalry with a team that's as great as the Tampa Bay Lightning. But at the same time, they're right fucking there. That is the model. They're similarly built. Is Ekblad as good as Hedman? I don't think so. But he's damn good.
He's very, very good.
Mackenzie Weegar, I think, is about as good as Ryan McDonough is.
I would say yes. He just doesn't
have a good series.
He obviously doesn't get the attention that McDonough does.
But he's as good, I think. And, they've got other, young defensemen.
Mikhail Sergachev.
Mikhail Sergachev and Eric Chernak won't look on the other side of Florida. I see Gustav Forsling and Brandon Montour.
Yeah.
Those are good guys. So similar build on defense. And then, Tampa's, flirting around with Stammer and Kucherov and
Braden Point.
But Florida, you got Huberdeau,
Huberdeau.
Barkov. You've got Lundell's going to be a star.
Oh, he absolutely is. You have Verhaeghe.
You have Duclair.
Now that's a question mark. I don't know if they're going to bring Duke back.
Now we don't know, but in terms of like what they have at this present moment, they've got a lot of ammo.
Yeah.
So what do they need to do? Maybe the solution, as you mentioned, he might not be back next year. Maybe you trade Anthony Duclair, not because you don't like the player, but you might want to beef up a little bit and get yourself, maybe not, the same player, but get a Nick Paul-like player, get a Blake Coleman-like player, get a Barkley Goodrow-like player, beef up a little bit. Beef up on the bottom end of your defense. Bring back Radko. Honestly, I'm not a big bench Sherrod guy. Bring him back. Because if you're playing that guy in the third pair in sheltered minutes, him and Gudis are effective.
I mean, we talked about them being their bouncer pair, right?
Yeah. It's not like, when people talk about like the analytics community and stuff like that, it's because they don't a lot of times the negative perception comes because you're not understanding what we're trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that Ben Sherratt's not a player who can play in the National Hockey League and like he sucks. It's he can't be your number one defenseman. He can't be your number two or even your number three. But if you're playing him,
You look at the way he plays and you find a role based off the numbers.
if you play him in a third pair role in sheltered minutes, he's incredibly effective at what he does. Because
Right.
he can provide offense, he's physical, pain in the ass to play against, not always the best defensively, not great at getting players to drive wide and
Mm-hmm.
taking down passing lanes, stuff like that. But still, he is effective. I would
Right.
bring him back. That's what they need to do. They need to beef up
Mm-hmm.
and get those kinds of players. And so that's the one thing. And then two is Brunette needs to look at this series and look at what Tampa's doing. Look at John Cooper. I think he can figure it out. I have faith in Andrew Brunette as a coach. I don't blame him too much because he wasn't supposed to be in this situation.
He's going to learn a lot from these tapes.
He's going to learn a lot from this series. So I'm not out entirely on the Florida Panthers being a potential, front runner in the future for the Stanley Cup. But some things need to change. Some things need to improve. No doubt about it. And that's what I got out of this series. I got out of it. Tampa is still as phenomenal as we fucking thought, and Florida isn't there yet.
Right.